in the zone, 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 podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, 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 in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, 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 in the zone.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the In the Zone podcast. It's your boy, B. Foster. Brian Foster's in the building. Happy Wednesday. Welcome. As you can see, once again, Sean has not shown up. This is like 2023 all over again, where it's just me doing my thing. Who needs Sean? Oh, shit. I feel like she's about to appear. What's up, Sean?
I don't know why you take these opportunities to throw digs at me. It's just unnecessary. I thought you loved me. Clearly not.
Listen, if I don't talk mess about you, I don't love you.
I have a good reason not to be there, and it has nothing to do with traveling, which is crazy.
You absolutely have a valid excuse not to be here tonight. I hope all that turns out well, by the way.
Yeah, we'll find out tomorrow morning.
That's all right. How you doing otherwise?
You know what? It's been a very weird day. I almost ran over a guy on a wheelchair. Okay. My garage door is falling off the rails. It's just been a really crazy day. Okay. Outside of that, we here, we living, and we here talking about these Minster paws.
The Minster paws.
Before we introduce our guest, are you having any perimenopausals going on?
So it's funny. I share way too much of myself on this show, and this is the moment I realized it. But I'm gonna keep it going, right?
That's right.
The short answer is I don't know. I've started experiencing some symptoms in the last, I would say, 4 years, where my sleep has changed during certain times of the month. And it's obviously harder for me to lose weight. Now, that could just be because I'm closing in on 50. But I've talked to my doctor about it, and she said, no, those don't sound like perimenopausal symptoms. But I still have questions because it just came out of nowhere. So it makes sense that they would be, but according to the doctor, not yet.
Okay. Well, we got two experts here that might be able to
answer. Don't tell me.
They might be a quack. We don't know. We're about to figure it out right now. So,
what's a law degree matter? Let the experts tell me.
A law degree, you're right. In the medical field, it means nothing.
You know what I meant.
That's right. That's what happens when you remote. You off your square. All right. So, anyway, on my right, long time friend, known this young lady 2-3 months, right? No, longer than I care to admit. But one of the best people I know. Fact, not fiction. You won't hear me say that on the show a lot. My girl Tanya, what's going on?
Thank you very much, B Foss. B is actually one of my favorite people. He is who he is. You take him or leave him. He is who he is. He's just gonna give it to you straight, no chaser. Every now and again, he might throw a little sugar on it, but that sugar is probably gonna be that long, and that's about it. But I appreciate you, bro, for having us on today.
Come on,
appreciate that.
Come on. As a matter of fact, I want you to introduce who's on my left, and then you all introduce your show, because I don't want it to be this End Zone podcast tonight, but this is bigger than us. This is bigger than Nino Brown.
Well, directly to the left of Mr. Foster is the wonderful Melanie Hall. And so Melanie is a licensed clinical therapist.
Yep.
And she actually was one of our very first panelists for the Menopause Unfiltered series that we had back in February, which was really great. We had about 70 ladies that came and we had a good time. We talked about, symptoms and some concerns that we had. And so it was just kind of a really unfiltered conversation so that we could kind of get to some of the basics of what things look like and then share resources. Some ladies have gone through certain things, some haven't. And so just being able to be really good advocates for each other, really kind of help navigate through.
And now, when you talk about this series, and do you have a consistent show as well?
So
come on.
Yesterday's show
is in the works.
Right. So everything is in the works. So the series that I'm referring to is actually an in-person series, and that is exclusively for the ladies, ladies only. We do a brunch, and we have a panel of different specialties. Brunch. So you like brunch too? Brunch. Okay, we'll make one specifically for the fellas at one point in time. But the panelists will always include someone directly as far as a clinician that is from more of the medical side. So our very first clinician was Leslie Hicks, who is a certified nurse midwife, and she focuses on women's health.
Okay.
One of the things that a lot of women don't understand is that when we say maternal health actually includes the space that we're in for menopause. Most often when you hear maternal health, you think pregnant women, but maternal health encompasses all women's health. So, and then we had fitness instructor, which was Mary Younger. We also had a dermatologist, which was Tracy Blackburn. And then of course we had Melanie. We do have another event coming up in person on June 22nd, and that is going to have the same panelists, except we are switching out Tracy because Tracy isn't available that day, but we are adding on Sherelle. So, and Sherelle is actually a clinical pharmacist. And so that's another area that we thought, hey, that'll be really good to kind of bring her in and talk a little bit about what the medications are like, because she could really get into a lot of that space.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got to give us the dates and the locations and all that.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say, make sure to give it to us so we can post it in the zone and we can share it with everybody.
We're going to share it live a couple times here.
Absolutely.
Mel, thank you for joining
us. Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
Appreciate you. Let's dive right in.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Now, I've said, you all do not hear this from me very often, that I am just driving the car today. I am strictly an Uber driver. I ain't had a hot flash ever, and this is not my lane, and I respect that these ladies are the experts. I'm going to let them talk. I'm just driving the car today. Now, I might make a couple commentaries. That's what I do. But for the most part, this is not about me. This is about the ladies. So let's start here.
Okay.
Because I also want this to be, and I don't know, who's going to watch, who's watching. I hope that the fellas do at least tune in for part of this, if not the whole thing, because most of our viewers are of a certain age, and your wife or your girlfriend or who you dealing with or who you might be dealing with is there, coming up on there, whichever it may be. So good to be armed with the information, fellas, so you know how to navigate and relate and empathize and sympathize and the whole thing. So I hope some fellas are watching. But let's start here.
Okay.
Difference, because I'm assuming most people know, kind of, and maybe this is the wrong assumption, so I don't want to start from square one.
Okay.
the difference between perimenopause and menopause?
Okay, so there is a distinct difference between the two. If I could paint a picture for you of what perimenopause is versus menopause, you host parties for your birthday at your home. You have a specific guest list.
Okay.
Perimenopause will be that uninvited guest that shows up early.
Okay.
And they're in the house and you don't know they're in the house. And they've been playing with the thermostat and they've been moving things around in the house. They've rearranged your kitchen. They've rearranged your bathroom.
None of this sounds
They've
good.
taken some things out of your bedroom.
Oh, I don't like this at all.
And then all of a sudden, the party starts. The party itself is menopause. But everything that uninvited guest did before the party is perimenopause.
Gotcha.
And so what that looks like is it could be a range of 4 years to, in some instances, over 10 years of that perimenopausal space. And during that space is when there are hormonal shifts.
Okay.
Estrogen, which is kind of our regulator, those levels start to drop. Okay. And so then when those levels drop, you find a shift in things like sensitivity to heat. So you hear everything where everybody talks about the hot flashes. And yes, so I do have my fan with me today, just in case one decides it wants to pop up, I'm prepared. And then you have the night sweats, and night sweats can be so tough, as I'm sure there are some ladies that are out there watching right now, where you literally can wake up in the middle of the night drenched. Like I've had nights where I've had to get up, change my linen, shower, and then get back in the bed because they just kind of come out of nowhere. So you'll see we've got the fan on, we've got the window open, but we also have the comforter on, and then that foot comes up under the comforter, then it goes back in, and then it flip off the cover. So all of that is happening. But then you also looking at other symptoms that may not be quite as well known. So brain fog is one. You've got joint pain. You have some memory loss. You have bleeding gums. You have, and you may see from time to time where I'm searching for words because I probably forgot what I was about to say.
Brain fog.
Oh, right. I got more symptoms than I thought.
Right.
Probably do.
So, and you probably do, and you just don't know. So it's that's the distinct difference between them. Menopause is technically just one day, and it's the one day that occurs after the woman has not had a cycle in 12 consecutive months.
Okay.
So that means they go an entire year, 12 months, no cycle at all. Now, because Mother Nature is just so fun with us, she's like, I might let you go 9 months, and then guess who's showing up? Guess what, girl? Clock starts all over again. You gotta be kidding me. So, and I have friends that have fallen into that space where they may have been without for 3 months and then started again. Some have gone for 6 and started again. So it's one of those, we don't know either.
Yeah. Commentary there?
It is, I try to explain to people that, don't look at it as a loss. It's an adjustment, and it is just like most things, for the most part, lifelong adjustment of getting to know yourself over and over again as change occurs. Right. So before there was this monthly thing that you had happening, and you would go through some things before your cycle and after your cycle. So now just take the cycle away and you just got all those other things.
None of that sounds great.
Here's the thing. The being curious about it, asking questions, talking about it, like shows like this, so helpful. Right? Because our mothers didn't talk about it.
Right.
So all we knew was hot flashes as women. All we knew was hot flashes. All we knew was moodiness. But then you start experiencing, like she said, it could be frozen shoulder. It could be like the sleeplessness. The moodiness comes and you figure like, I'm just having a bad day, but you don't even know that you are in perimenopause.
Right.
You don't even know it's there. Like it can start in his 30s. So you think back sometimes and you're like, oh, so that time that like I lost my shit. That was probably that.
Yeah, that time that I had palpitations for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And in cardiology couldn't figure out anything.
Right.
Oh, that might have been.
And I had a migraine and that wouldn't go away. Yeah. So then you look back and you're like, okay. Yeah. You're
when I do that,
speechless.
usually when that happens to me, it's alcohol related. I think that's a different show.
I think so. We'll have a different show about we'll have a show about you going to AA in the next round.
I ain't no quitter. I'm a drunk. I ain't no quitter.
Right.
Well, you have known me to quit.
Right. Drunks don't need to go to meetings, right? They don't go to
meetings.
Alcoholics do, drunks don't. I get it.
That's right. Yeah, that means you want to give it up. Sean, anything you want to jump in there?
So I guess we can, and I know you guys have kind of talked about various symptoms, right? Can you guys tell us, like, what are the most common symptoms of perimenopausal? It may be the least common, just to give people like myself an idea. Like when you were just talking, I do have joint pain. I've had joint pain for the last 10 years in my knees, actually in every joint I have, including my fingers. Yeah. My sleep has been weird. I do get lost with whatever word I'm trying to say, and I have to like jumpstart what I'm trying to say to get whatever I'm trying to say to come out. But let's just talk about really common symptoms and less common symptoms, so people like myself can start saying, oh, maybe my doctor is wrong. I actually am starting perimenopause.
Right. So most often the most common ones are what you've already laid out. So the hot flashes, the night sweats, the memory fog, joint pain. Those are mood swings. Those are typically the most common ones that we hear about. Those that we don't talk about quite as much would be changes in your vision. It would be hair thinning, hair loss. It would be vaginal dryness.
Oh no.
Loss of libido.
Digestive issues.
Right.
Oh, yeah, libido just
loss of libido.
Libido just packs up and moves.
Right.
And
It's like
wait,
it's
no.
like I quit. I'm out. I see you when I see you.
You don't need me anymore, right?
Right. You don't need me anymore, right? We good. I'm I'm hot. I know you can feel the heat off my body, and I'm gonna need you to get over there, way over there, because
don't breathe this way.
Right.
Don't do any of that.
So those are some that are less commonly talked about, and a lot of times we don't really even know. Like we even mentioned the headaches and the frozen shoulder.
Yeah. I think the mental health side is where there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of embarrassment, because oftentimes women won't say to their partner something's up. They might say it to a friend, but they will come into the therapy office and be like, I'm losing my mind. And I'm like, you may not be losing it. You may be perimenopause. And they're often like, well, my doctor said, and I'm like, yes, you can have the blood test taken, but if all your symptoms line up, you just might be, and it's just not showing up in that test. Get the testing done because it does matter. But if all of your symptoms are lining up, it just may be that. And sometimes when we can normalize and identify what a thing is, sometimes it allows you to take a deep breath and go, okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm going through a change. So now what do I need to do? And sometimes it is, maybe your self-care just may need to be different, because sometimes, self-care was maintenance. When people say, I go get my hair done, I go get my nails done and doing all those things. Yeah, well, that's not it anymore. It might be you legit have to go get a hotel by yourself for the weekend and just disconnect.
Right.
Because maybe you're so overwhelmed, because you can be very sensitive to stress and pressure and things like that. And it doesn't mean you're weak. It just means now my body responds differently to stress and pressure.
Right. And so especially as Black women, because we tend to go through menopause a little bit longer, one, and then two, our symptoms tend to be more severe than any other race. With us being in that strong space all the time. So it's, okay, I've got to wear my Superwoman cape. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. A lot of times we fall into a functional depression and don't really know that we're in that space. And so being in that space, you're holding on and holding on and holding on, and things are changing, but you're not necessarily focusing on the fact that it's not that there's so much on your plate, but that it's really something more internal. And it's aligning with perimenopause. And so we've seen where suicide rates increased during this time period. Divorce rates increased during this time period. And it's not for any reason other than not knowing yourself, not being quite as self-aware. And then the shame, like you mentioned, around it. I gave some vulnerability and transparency about myself yesterday when we did the men's edition, because I suffered from depression and wasn't sure. And it wasn't until I said, I'm going to go to therapy. Well, we're talking a couple of years ago, I lost my niece. I lost my dad last year. I'm smack in the thick of perimenopause. So I've got everything going, all at once. And so it's tough because you're not quite sure how to talk about it.
Yep.
I can recall one day sitting on the stairs and I thought I was fine. And then all of a sudden I just broke down. I just started crying. And my guy, Tom, was like, what is wrong?
What happened?
What happened? And he was like, you were just fine. And I literally looked at him and I said, I don't know what's wrong. And I don't know how to tell you how to help me because I don't know.
Right.
Like that is the most vulnerable space you can be in. And so when we're talking to the men, we're like, hey, look, I really wanted to make sure that we had that conversation yesterday, and we'll talk about that a little later. But when she's in that space, and if she's able to voice that to you, I think it's really important at that time to say, you know what, babe, let's go get some help. Let's try and figure this out. Because when you're there, you don't really know how to navigate in that space. And so now you're beyond the physical symptoms.
Right.
You need to move into the mental space. And so I started therapy, and I've been in therapy for about a year now. Almost a year now. And so it's helping to unpack a lot of things. So, unpacking the grief from my dad and my niece, and unpacking the grief of menopause, because a lot of ladies don't even think of menopause as a grieving process, because you're not becoming completely different, but you are transitioning from the woman that you were then into a new space that's unknown. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how you should treat it or how you should navigate through it. So you got to grieve what you had before so that you can move into that space a little smoother and just enjoy it. Because I look at my mom now at 77. Oh, she's having the best time of her life. She's having the best time of her life. She misses my dad. But every time I look up, I'm like, lady, where are you now? Well, I'm about to go with so-and-so to dinner, and then we're going to go to lunch tomorrow. And so I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, look, I have no cares about anything. She may have a flash from time to time, but she's living her best life. I'm like, oh, that's what it looks like on the other side.
I think for a lot of men, because you all are fixers, you want to solve problems. You're like, let's get to the solution. And the solution is patience. The solution is time. The solution is adjust your expectations. Those are the solutions. And so a lot of times
we're not good at.
and here's the thing. We may not be good at it either. And we have to become good at it. So it's like, I'm trying to learn how to do it. And I also got to try and tell you how to do it.
Teach me how to do it too?
Right.
While are you going through this shit?
While I'm going through it. And so there's going to be some conflicts, but hopefully if people can sit down and have a level of respect about there's something bigger going on. This is not a you thing and it's not a me thing. It's a us thing, right? Have that type of respect for something else happening, right? And try to understand. It don't mean that you always will. And if we look perplexed and confused, we are. If you're like, this ain't making sense. I know, but it does make sense. It makes sense that it is perimenopause or menopause, but it doesn't make sense because there isn't one answer. There isn't just one fix. There isn't just one thing I can go do and it be all better.
Right.
Can I hop in here just on the mental health piece? Because what you all are saying, first of all, is making me feel better and not crazy.
Good.
But just thinking about like,
let's not go too far.
I really be trying to love you, and you make it so. Oh my God! But just from the mental health piece, I like the idea of women getting themselves into therapy. So I have a two-part question. One, if they do decide to move forward with therapy, should they look for clinicians who specialize in menopause? Or do you think it's okay to stick with your current therapist, or, you know, just focus on your therapy versus looking for somebody who specializes in that piece? And the second part of the question is for the men, you know, this is, you know, going through a transition is hard. Should they also consider getting a clinician just to help them figure out ways to support their partner going through this transition?
I'm going to let Melanie start that off.
I would say, so typically there is not going to be a clinician that specializes in menopause. However, tap into a clinician that understands. While you don't have to always have life experience to be a therapist in any space, it helps to have a therapist that understands what this does to the mind, body, and spirit, right? Because if you don't have that level of understanding and or lived experience, they will pathologize everything, meaning everything becomes diseased. And it's not a disease, it's a transition of what at one point in time I had high levels of estrogen and now no longer have that, and my body responds differently. So you want to have somebody that understands what's happening, right? And when it comes to going into therapy and talking about it, you can say, you know, I've been to my doctor, this is where I am. I want to make sure that, you know, I remain as stable as possible. So I need to process some things so that I don't project it onto my family and my friends, right? And as for a spouse or partner, yes, it would be helpful for them to just kind of come in and tap and just hear what's going on mentally for that person, psychologically for that person, emotionally for that person, because oftentimes the partners don't hear it. All they know is she in the room, she crying. I don't know why she crying. So, I mean, I asked if she wanted to go take a trip somewhere. And it's like, a trip is not going to cure it, right? A trip is just.
It will for me.
I understand. Every now and then, some beach, you know, that does it. A little sun that can do it. But it helps to sit and hear, oh, okay, so there's a process here that's happening, and we're not about to be out of this anytime soon.
And one of the things that I'd like to encourage men to do, along with going to therapy with them, is go to her doctor's appointment with her. Go to her doctor's appointment with her. I mentioned yesterday, close couples friend of mine, where the husband went with her to her doctor's appointment and said, "We are in menopause."
I know that's right.
You know, we are in menopause. So what is it that we need to do? Because this is not the person that I married. And so I need to know what I need to know in order to help her navigate through this so that we can kind of get through this. And I think more often than not, and I let me preface it with this, I don't believe that men don't want to understand. I don't believe that they don't want to know
and it's okay
what's
to
going
not
on.
Know.
But I think it's okay for you to admit that you don't know and you're okay with not knowing. And so let's go find out together.
Damn, some other shit, man.
Right. Because I'm sure the men before you just stepped out just like they used to step out when we had the babies.
Right.
They like, just don't go in the room. Just let her be. And it's like, no, don't detach. This is when I actually need for you to come and sit down and be like, you okay? I'm probably gonna say no, or I might say no, but I will be. That lets you know I got it under control. I'll be okay.
What else would this is a later question, but let's jump into it now because we're already here. What else should fellas need to know? What else do they need to
don't take no personal?
There you go.
Right. Right.
I don't need to frame that no more. Go on. What else do we need to know?
Don't take no personal.
And just know that sometimes a lot of times her mood has absolutely nothing to do with you. Okay. It has everything to do with her. Her response to some things, though some of them may be nice and clingy, and other ones like, nigga, if you don't get on somewhere, you know, those still have nothing to do with you. Right. It has everything to do with her. Okay. And so it's perfectly okay to kind of let her have that and then revisit it. Yeah. Hey, babe, look, so yesterday.
Right. What was that?
You know, yesterday we were doing A, B, and C, and this is how you responded to me. I didn't care for it, but I didn't want us to have to go back and forth. So I decided to wait until we both were in a better space. Now let's address that. Let's unpack that. Because what happens is now it says to her, oh, okay, let me be a little bit more mindful. Okay, I didn't mean to. And it gives her the opportunity to apologize in that space. Because contrary to popular belief, women do apologize.
I apologize.
We do apologize.
I have a lot of friends that
now,
apologize.
It may not be as often as you guys would like, which is why I'm looking at the face, this question that he's getting. He's like, they do, we do. It may not be as often as you may like, but it at least gives us the opportunity to say, you know what, I didn't mean to come off on you that way. Because if I get curt with you and then you internalize it, because men do, you guys have emotions as well. You internalize it and then you turn around and you give it back to me. Now we sleep in separate bedrooms for real. Not because she freezing you out, but because I don't want to be nowhere near her right now. I don't know how this is going to end up. So you have to at some point in time revisit that and, you know, so you can talk through it. The big key is you've got to do it together.
Yeah.
You got to do it together. You can take your time apart. She can take her time apart. But at some point, you have to move through it together in order for you to continue to have a successful relationship.
So you wanted to know about the no?
Tell me more about the no. Tell me more.
So one of the things, and I'll be completely transparent here. One of the biggest things that was a shocker for me was the scent of my body. That changed. I was like, what?
We like,
right.
If I can smell me, can they smell me?
Can somebody else smell? Like, like there's no roses and lilies. What's going on? Right. And guess what can come along with that? Shame and embarrassment. I don't want to uncover now because I know if I don't like it, you ain't gonna like it.
Right.
Painful.
Think you'd be surprised. What we'll tolerate.
And it's funny, you know, laughing at it, but it's really kind of a shameful, embarrassing part for us, because especially if you are a woman that, like, I keep myself up. Like, it's like, and so I remember being out one day with girlfriends and we were at brunch and I was like, do you smell me? And they were like, girl, no. I'm like, are you sure? Because I can smell me. Like, if I can smell me, you should be able to smell me. And they're like, no, we don't smell you. And I'm like, I don't believe it. So I'm going home, I'm going to change and I'll come back. Like, it's crazy. And so when you're in that space, it's like,
and that's just one thing while you're also questioning your mental faculties and
so
there's pain.
It's pain. I feel like I smell me. And if I don't like what I smell, he ain't going to like what he smells. And he going to be like, what's she been doing? So, you know, like it goes into this whole, like we've had a whole conversation.
So now you at the doctor saying something don't smell right.
We'd have had a conversation that I wasn't a part of.
Right. We had a whole conversation. You wasn't even there.
I ain't said a word. I wasn't part of the conversation.
That's it.
All right. So, listen, you said so painful sex.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
Because it's dry. It literally goes into the Sahara Desert.
Right. It's like, that's powder,
and so
dust.
There's the friction. That's a deterrent. You're like, I don't even want to experience that. And it's not you. And men are like, so what can I do? And it's like, so yeah, you can buy things over the counter, but even that is a process because it's like, well, you never need this before.
Right. And so now I'm doubting myself. Like, why do I have to have that? Couple things that I've told some male friends of mine is the days of being able to, hey, let's hit it real quick and out. Sometimes you got to do a whole lot more work, and it doesn't necessarily start that day. Like you might have to start. You might have to start on Sunday if you want to really hit it on Thursday. Like,
I'll see you tomorrow.
First of all, they should be doing that anyway, perimenopausal or not.
I mean, even if it's something simple like, okay, she might be cooking dinner. And you come and you stand behind her and kind of help her.
You might get an
dinner.
elbow.
You know, she might, kind of rub like it could be anything.
Hold on, navigate. It's like, is this okay? And I stand behind you. I gotta ask permission. I gotta go.
Well, the thing about it is, most often, even with us being in a mood, you can still pick up when she's not in that particular mood.
Yeah, I got you.
So when she looks like she's in that space, you're like, okay, she looks like she's pretty calm. Yeah, walk past and smack her on the ass. Hey, babe, love you.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I'm still attractive to him. He still loves me. You know, again, and it may take a little bit
am I gonna
longer.
get anything from this?
Look, you might not get it until Thursday, just not on Sunday, but you'll get it.
First of all, I've been married 15 years. Perimenopause or not, that's pretty much how this shit goes. So any married man I know agrees with me. You gotta work a little bit in this.
Right. Well, here's the thing: so if you already know that, then we good.
Yep.
Then you already know what to do.
The fucking stage has been set. All right, fellas. So we talking patience.
Yes.
We're talking understanding. We're talking listening. Tanya done turned this damn fan on, so
I did.
we talk understanding. We're talking communication. Okay. All right.
And accepting no, getting adjusted to no.
Accept us right. Accept
And
and no.
managing your expectations.
Okay.
Because I have had
Get some Jergens.
not Jergens.
Not
Okay,
Jergens.
not
Oh,
Jergens.
is that a wrong brand?
The
That
lotion is a
lotion.
no.
Astroglide.
What?
Astroglide.
What they're saying is the lotion for us is a problem. I'll say it that genteel. It's a problem.
So there's a different lubricant that you want to use. Well,
And
No, I'm talking about for me. I ain't
Oh,
y'all
yeah.
at a part of this.
you're like
yeah.
special for
No,
yourself.
just for me.
Oh, okay. For your own party.
My own parts of the party.
Okay.
Yeah, not for you.
Okay.
Not for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I wasn't
Look,
specific.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. Okay.
Look, we ain't got nothing to do with that. Gotcha.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Why you waiting for Thursday?
You're right.
Why need to do that? I get it. Sean, come on.
What?
I know you got something else.
What is some of the biggest misconceptions about perimenopausal and menopause from women and men? Like what do you think the biggest ones are?
I think the length of time that it lasts is the biggest.
You said something about that, or Tanya, I think you said it, that Black women go through it longer. How much longer are we talking here?
Baby.
So it's 1 to 2 years, and again, it's different for every woman. There are so many contributing factors to it. So it could be whether or not genetically your mother went through early or she was still in it later. The unfortunate part about it is that most of the time you don't know when your mother started because she didn't know, and her mom knew even less than her. I can promise you
What's
that
up, partner?
physicians, hey,
That's my girl. Leslie Miles.
Yes, Leslie, our clinician, our certified nurse midwife. Yes. But most often they didn't know, so they didn't know what to tell us. So it's trying to figure it all out. And so, like for me, I didn't really realize that I was in the thick of it until maybe about 3 years ago, which is when I kind of started on this whole crusade. But when I went through and was looking at the symptoms, I can trace this back to when I was like 38.
Yes.
Wow.
When some of those things happened. So it's kind of strange in that space, like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what about, oh yeah, I've seen that. So it can be something, and I'm 56 now.
That reminds me to touch on even for your female friends. So I started before all my friends. So even to have support from your female friends, it may not be there. It literally may be a lonely journey because no one else understands, because they're like, I don't know what she's talking about. My sister and I are different. My sister actually loves her hot flashes because she says, oh, it's just a little bit of warmth. And I'm like, we not the same.
Right.
Because mine is an inferno. But I started at 38 having night sweats. And I remember talking to my mother and I was like, I'm sweating at night. And she said, oh, you starting menopause. And I was like, ma'am, I'm in my 30s.
Said, ma'am, I'm young. Stop
Yes.
this. Stop
And
this
she
nonsense.
she said it doesn't matter. You can start that early. And I was like, the devil is a lie. Right? But I started that early and I had other issues going on. And I was surgically put into it, but none of my peers experienced that. So it was an anomaly to them. And they're like, well, I don't know what it's going to be like when I have it. You know, they're like, I came on my cycle. Even one was like, I think I'm pregnant. I was like, I cannot relate.
Right.
They couldn't relate to me and I couldn't relate to them. So there was this journey that I was taking alone because even my own sister wasn't in it. And she's 10 years older than me.
And so we're talking kind of to piggyback off what you're talking about, kind of making that journey alone and being so different for every woman. Mm-hmm. So I had a sterilization done in 2011 because I was like, yeah, my kid is 18. I'm not about to be that one. Here. Right. I'm not about to be that one where a kid in college and I'm pushing a stroller. We're not going to do that.
Hey.
It was not for me. It was not for me. So, you know, I had that done and then I had an ablation. And the ablation is where they kind of cauterize your tubes. So then I no longer had a cycle. So I haven't had a cycle since 2011. Well, if the determining factor of when I hit menopause is based off of me not having a cycle for 12 consecutive months, I can't gauge that because I haven't had one since then. Right. So it's okay, let's go in and have lab work done. Yeah. Let's take a look at how your symptoms are moving. Have they changed? What does it look like now? So for me, it's a little more challenging. It would also be the same for someone who has had a hysterectomy and they were thrust into.
That was me.
Right. So everything is contingent upon each woman, what her health history is like, any procedures that she may have had done. It's
genetics.
Right, and genetics. So all of it is one, it's so vastly different for everybody.
Do we know, and there may not be any scientific data to know this information, but do we know if this period of time is easier, harder, or different for people who go through it naturally versus people who go into it based on some medical procedure? Are there any differences once you get to that point?
Your damn fan is making noise in the mic.
Hey, look,
move that motherfucker around.
I'm hot.
I wasn't gonna say nothing because I realized you needed it, but it is making a little bit of a sound.
Hey, that's part of the show. Now it's vibrating on the second. Jesus Christ.
I gotta figure out where to put it.
You gotta put hold on.
And it's on the lowest. Okay, let me put it on the lowest.
Hold it for you. I want to be helpful. As a man, I want to help.
You learn fast.
It's a quick study.
Listen, I'm an asshole, but I learn fast.
Okay. I'll turn it off. I'll turn it off for as long as I can stand.
I've heard stories from everyone that are. It's just across the board, no matter when they started, no matter, racial makeup, all of it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's this level of misery that just comes along with it. And everybody has their different levels of misery, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking if I don't know if I guess nobody knows what to expect, right?
Right.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if you're thrusted into it based on that, is it worse or maybe easier? But apparently it's a roll of the dice no matter how you land on.
Pretty much.
All I can say is when you come out of surgery, you hot.
Right.
Already? Goddamn.
Yeah.
Look, you come out the oven like a batch of cookies.
Right.
Just hot.
That's not even fair. You're sitting there needing to be stitched up and you're already having hot flashes.
You're hot.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's so different for every woman. I have friends that go, "Oh, I didn't have any issues at all. I didn't have anything at all."
You don't want to hear that shit, do you?
Right. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. But
go away.
Right.
Go
but
away.
What I found is when they say, "Oh, I didn't have any of that," they're only talking about the hot flashes and the night sweats. But then when I go, "Hey, did you so and so?"
Yep.
Oh, I can't even remember. What is that? What is that? Oh, yeah. See, that's called brain fog.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So you in.
right. So you in. Welcome. You just got a different symptom.
Let me ask y'all this. What speaking of symptoms,
okay,
what symptom surprised you the most? And which one can you even right now laugh at?
Oh, dude, it's the brain fog easily. Because if I walk into another damn room and not remember why I walked in there, my daughter
I might be having
laughs
menopause. All the time.
we ain't even gonna don't talk about andropause for the men. That's a whole
That's
nother
a
topic.
whole nother thing.
But listen, the
I
way
wanted to ask about that, but we can
It's
make
a
that
thing.
the next question.
That's a whole nother
It is a
episode. We'll
thing.
come back. But my daughter literally laughs at me all the time because I can never find my glasses. I don't know what it is about me and my eyeglasses, but I can never find them. I literally will call her. She can be in a whole nother state. Girl, where are my glasses? Ma, I know you're not called. I am. And you're going to always walk me through it to help me figure out where they are.
On your head.
Right.
But I have my girl, that's crazy. Oh shit.
Right. Literally, like you have the but I think what tickles me the most is when I'm looking on social media and it's always that one infamous video where the lady's like, girl, let me call you back. I cannot find my phone. Ma'am, you are on it. But like those are it's funny and it's you're able to make yourself laugh at it now because you're like, okay, this is just a part of my life right now. I've got to be able to maneuver and what's fun. But that whole brain fog thing, the way it hit me, and I can be in the middle of a conversation, I can be looking at you like, yeah, B and that. And I just go to, and it's because I cannot remember what I started talking about.
That's hilarious.
And it's funnier when you're talking to your 77-year-old mother and you go, yeah, it's like the what is it, the cartoon Pets, and the dog is walking, all of a sudden he goes, squirrel. Like that is literally how I feel, squirrel. And then I try to come back to it. I don't remember what I was talking about. And it's like, so yeah.
So next topic.
Right.
What about you, man?
I'm gonna say it's funny, but it's not so funny. I'm gonna say mine is the sleep because I've always been an early bird. But now when people try and tell me, you know, can you be there at 8? I'll be like, whoo. And I used to talk about my husband who couldn't get up early in the morning. And now it's like a thing because he'd be like, ooh, they don't know you do that. And I'm like, I know, because I was never that way. But the sleep, I'm gonna linger in that bed. Listen, I'm gonna lay in that bed.
I need at least 2 naps in a day. Like
Sean, a lot of this is sounding super familiar for you.
Look, I feel like the doctor is a quack and I need a new 90.
I don't even live with you when I know you suffer to have this shit.
So Sean, here's something else that I want to bring up. Just because I heard you say, well, my doctor said that I'm not. My doctor said I'm not. Another area where I think a lot of women fall short, and not necessarily they fall short, but they're uncomfortable or they're not very positive in what they can do is it's perfectly okay for you to find another physician.
Absolutely.
One that will provide you with what you need and not what they said the textbook says.
Because sometimes there is gaslighting in the medical office.
It's a lot of it. And there's not a whole lot of time spent on menopause in medical school. There just isn't. Yeah. You know, if they get a chapter, okay. But you have to say, look, I'm experiencing this. Yeah, okay. I know the labs say A, B, and C, but I'm telling you, this is what I'm having. And the physician should be treating the symptoms. Yes. And not the lab work. Yes. Because the lab work can say anything. But if I'm having these symptoms, we need to dig a little deeper. Let's unpack a little bit more. Let's dig a little deeper and figure out what's what. And so I've had girlfriends that have switched doctors 3 or 4 times until they found the right physician that worked with them. I finally have one that I absolutely love. She's great. We tried to do some things for me in the sleep because baby, I hadn't slept. I could not remember the last time that I had more than 3 consecutive hours of sleep in about 5 years. Yeah. And we tried everything that we could that was non-traditional medicine. First, edibles worked a little bit, and then they stopped working as much. And so I've been on an HRT patch, which is a hormonal replacement therapy patch, which has a combination. And it has a combination of both estrogen and progesterone in it. I've been on it for 3 weeks, and when I tell you, I've had the best sleep over the last 2 weeks.
I've done the steroid
It
pellets.
has been great.
OMG. They're bioidentical pellets, and the doctor does testing prior to make sure that where your estrogen and progesterone levels are. And when they embed them in the buttock, and when I tell you the sleep, I was like, oh, this is what it's like to just get in the bed and fall asleep and just wake up and be like, okay, we can do the day.
You had forgotten.
I forgot how that
was like.
felt. I was like, oh, you just get up and do the day.
Wow. Oh, please put up
Oh, that's
Allie
a good
Foster's
one.
recommendations.
That's actually a good question from Nicole too. Oh, thank you. Can you text me that, Allie? I appreciate that.
No, this is a great question. I wanted to. So we talked about, you all were talking about medical, right? Like the things you can do that your doctor can prescribe. But as we weren't really having this conversation. But as this post went up about the show.
Sound like you having.
Yeah, I'm having a point. Y'all done as we were having the post about this, people were saying that they had changed their diet or that alcohol had affected.
Oh yeah.
Or so can we talk about like some of the
cup of wine?
Oh yes. So what I discovered was, back in college we could really toss them back. Even 30s, 40s, I could toss them back. Now a good glass of wine will have me sleep. So, and not just sleep, but sleep and sweating. Yeah. So I have to really decide, okay, do I want that chocolate bar? Do I want that glass of wine? Do I want that cocktail more than I want to not sweat tonight? So it's kind of one of those, you got to figure out what your triggers are. Most often alcohol and sugar are triggers.
Okay.
And I found that to be more common amongst most of the ladies, that those are typically common ones. Alcohol, caffeine.
Yeah.
So, but I try to steer away from those.
Yeah.
But if I'm out and I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna.
You just know you're gonna sweat. Yeah. You just know you're gonna sweat.
Make decisions.
And you had, like, I used to love very warm, hairy sweaters. I don't own them anymore because they're hot. And I need to be able to dress in layers because I need to be able to shed something when I need to shed it. And I need to be able to add things when I need to add it because you're going to get cold again.
Right.
But those are just some of the changes you go through. But even when you were talking about like natural things that you can do. Yeah. You're like, I have attempted some of the teas. Some people say the teas work. Some people say the teas do not work.
I'm sorry.
Some people try the teas. I've tried the teas. I've like black cohosh and things like that. I tried some of the ashwagandha. I've tried a lot of those things. Some of those things just did not work for me. But that when I went to the doctor and I got the steroid, that was like testosterone. I was like, yay. And the libido came back and it was like, hey, okay, I could probably, okay.
Jen was just talking about this. Our friend Jennifer was just talking about
Yes, she talks about this.
I should say Jeff consistently talks about
Yes, all the time. Every time you talk to her, she talks about how her libido is
off the hook. Yeah.
Yes.
because of the testosterone treatments. So I'm hearing let's talk about, so people when I was reading, people were like better belly health and better this, that, and the other.
It's a life change.
Yeah.
It's literally a lot. Like I have to do things different where you could before eat like a sandwich and some fries or some chips or something like that. Now you're like, okay, so cut some of those carbs back because that's going to sit on me longer because the body is holding on to it. And I think there's a level of the body just because you're aging and the skin gets thinner and things like that. So I think there's that natural body like getting older, hanging on to extra weight because it believes it needs to at this time. And then you have the menopause too. And don't have health issues because I have some health issues too. So you get some kind of trifecta going on. But I do think that you have to change your diet because some things will trigger the hot flashes. Some things will impact your ability to go to sleep or stay asleep. Some things will impact your mood. And you have to know what those things are for you. And what it was prior to menopause may be different now. Whereas before you might have had wine and it didn't make you go to sleep. And now you find yourself, you went to sleep for 6 hours and you were supposed to be somewhere. You get what I'm saying? So you have to find what gives you some relief and what actually triggers the symptoms more based on your diet.
Gotcha. Damn. So you got to change your diet. You got dry coochie. Yeah. You can't drink wine. Yeah. You're hot. Your boobs sweating.
You couldn't drink. She said you just have.
Well, you got to make a choice.
And your man is standing right here saying, "What's the problem?"
Right, and your man in your ear, he ignorant. He don't get none of it.
Welcome to our world. Yes,
I'm sorry.
yes,
I'm sorry.
yes.
I apologize.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
yes,
I'm
yes.
so sorry. Good Lord.
Brian, I have a question for you.
Come on.
Right? I know you said you were guiding the ship, but you've listened to a lot, right? What's the most surprising thing you've heard in this conversation?
In this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Surprising.
And what did you expect to hear, right? Like you must have come in with at least a little bit of expectation.
No, I really didn't. I was really interested in the things that were happening in the post underneath it, like the commentary behind it. So I was really taking that in. I did a little reading and research myself, so I didn't come in here completely ignorant and blank. I think most surprising. I think the most surprising thing that I've heard so far, I don't even know if I heard it, but just I should know this, but I forget sometimes, the effects that alcohol, food, and the things you ingest, right? Like how much of an effect they have on even things like this. I wasn't surprised just by that today because I've been reading it in the comments, but you forget sometimes, that the things that, I mean, even the smallest things like that one glass of wine, that's the thing that triggered it. Like that's where I'm like, wow.
Yeah, literally dripping sweat.
Yeah, not a whole bottle, a glass. Wow.
Right.
Force this in. You like, here we go.
Here we
Right. Start grabbing for the fan.
Oh, and that's another thing. So that
I have a fan everywhere.
Far more forgiving, because I'm a judgmental motherfucker of these fans. I'm like, what? It's not that hot outside. Why does she have this fan strapped to her neck? Now I get it.
Yes. Listen, I have a fan in my car. Well, I'm sorry, I have two fans in my car. I have one in the glove compartment. I have one in the trunk. I have a fan on my nightstand. I have a fan inside the drawer of my nightstand. I have a fan in the kitchen. I have a fan in my office. I keep a fan in my purse. Because what's not going to happen is
you gonna be hot.
I take.
I got a question. Why do you have so many fans in the same place? Like you've named like 4 different areas of your car.
If one happens to no longer be fully charged, I got another one. So I'm gonna always make sure at least one of them's got to be working. It's got to be like I'm about to die right now because I made a mistake and didn't double layer, so I can't take this hot ass sweater off. And they keep telling me you gotta stop with the fan because it's disturbing this. I'm about to die. My hairstylist is gonna be upset because my hair is getting ready to swell.
Right, that's not glow, that's sweat.
It ain't.
Hold on. So Nick,
and it's not helpful that them damn lights on.
I am.
Are y'all hot?
But it wasn't hot when we first got in here. But right now, baby, woo.
The studio
and them lights are not exactly. The lights are hot.
Yes.
No,
ma'am. Right. So listen, I'm trying to make sure that my forehead doesn't start glistening because I just got my hair done today. I'm natural, so which means it's gonna start. It's gonna start swelling
because it makes you change your hairstyles too. Like I remember when I first started. Oh my goodness! I was like, I'm going to go get a relaxer because I can't do this because I just got my hair done. All I did was go cook, and now I have a bouffant. I was like, we're not doing this.
Right. Cut it off.
I was like, yeah, no.
Just
so
get rid of it.
It changes almost everything.
Sean?
I don't even know what to ask after that. Well, okay. I did want to go back, and I know we need to probably do an episode about this. But one of the things, and you said it, Tanya, like, do men go through anything similar to this? And you mentioned a word.
Yes, Andrew.
There he is. Hold on. I'm sorry. I want that question answered. But when I was talking about belly health and eating and whatever, I was wondering if Jamal was watching. Don't say something about vegan. Love you, brother. Right on time. You always on time.
How the hell, Jamal? How the
don't
do you know?
Do not do
veganism is gonna stop a hot flash.
Go eat a steak, Jamal.
Well, Jamal, I understand what you're saying, but I do have friends that are vegan and they still suffer from some of these symptoms. It doesn't rectify all of it. Do not
take Jamal seriously. I'm saying that off top.
Because it's not just hot flashes.
Right.
He's just talking. Play him no mind.
Okay.
All right. So back to what the men.
Yes.
The counterpart for the men.
Yeah. So it's and it is actually a whole nother show. So what they used to say back in the day, oh, the men are going through a midlife crisis.
Oh, wait,
Mhm.
hold on. Angie just said, get them their own show.
Yes.
Don't take over ours. You know what? You know what, Angie? You were right. Fair enough.
Yes,
Fair enough. We are talking about
I
the
was
ladies.
curious. We'll
No,
make
no,
another
but-
show and have.
Short of it, though.
Right. Short of it is they do go through the same type of change or
Mhm.
shift in life that women
Mhm.
do.
Because their
So they-
testosterone levels drop.
Right. They call it, they used to call it back in the day, oh, it's just the midlife crisis when they would go out and buy all these fast cars and all that. The name or the term for it is andropause. And so that's a whole nother
Mhm.
episode to be discussed.
So put that on your list.
Yep,
Ask
so
your
put that on
doctor
your
about
list.
That is a note being taken. Trust me. But let me ask this.
Andropause is
And
fantastic.
we kind of touched on it a little bit throughout. But I don't want to be specific in the question right now.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of ladies are watching and I find it's very informative. How did all this affect your sense of self, your relationships, your confidence?
So I can say in full honesty, my self-confidence dropped.
Mhm.
I doubted myself in a lot of spaces.
Mhm.
Because when you are in a position where you are accustomed to always being on top of everything
Mhm.
and remembering everything and being so sharp and crisp with everything, and then all of a sudden you're not able to find the right words, you're starting to find that you're not quite as organized as you were before. Conversations are different. You just start looking at things differently. And so now I'm internalizing myself like, well, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah.
You know, why is this happening to me? And so you kind of go into and I can't say this for all ladies, but I can say this for me. I kind of went into I made myself small.
Mm.
And so by making myself small, there were things that I didn't know, or I wasn't prepared to start dealing with,
Mhm.
because it's okay. Here's some new things for you. You have to know how to deal with this. I now started recognizing some things about me that I didn't know. And so how do I do this? And keeping in mind that I have a daughter. So
Mhm.
even though she's an adult, she's still watching me.
Yeah.
She's still watching how I navigate, how I maneuver through this space. So it's like, shit, all right, how am I supposed to do this? How do I remain the strong person that I am?
Yeah.
And so what I learned was I had to sit in some things. I had to allow myself to feel all of the feelings. I had to allow myself and tell myself it's okay to feel all the feelings. It's okay to cry about it. And one of the best gifts my daughter could have given me last year for my birthday was a trip.
A fan?
Well,
Right.
the fan too. But she put the fan in the suitcase. I went to Turks, and I was at Turks for 5 days. And it was one of those days. It was one of those weeks where I could just unplug. I didn't have to worry about the phone ringing or me being available for anybody. It was just about me.
Yeah.
And that helped me kind of propel back into a space. But it's hard. It's hard. It's challenging. You look and you're going, what in the world is this all about? How do I maneuver? How do I make myself normal again? And then you have to remember, you are normal. This is just a new chapter.
Yep. Yep. I spent a lot of time angry because all of those things had changed. And I would say that I was in a little denial because I had other health issues going on that was like at the forefront. And then there was that moment where I was like, and then here come this bitch. Like, and it was, I'm pissed off because I'm like, all this shit happening without my permission, right? I wasn't ready. And I still have other things I'm trying to do. And I can relate to her saying, you made yourself small. Like I wanted to disappear, but I kept having to show up in spaces. And it's like, I'm just going to do this little thing and go. I'm an introvert by nature. And so it fit my personality to kind of disappear. But a lot of it was, I don't feel adequate. I don't feel like I look good. I don't feel like I smell good. I don't feel like, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, I don't even know who you are anymore. Wow. So there's this rebuilding that you have to do internally so that you can show up and be who you are, the new version of you, your new normal, right? Because the things that I would do in my 30s versus now, completely, I mean, I'm probably a little bolder now, especially with some things that I say, because I'm sure my husband is out there like, oh, Jesus. Because now I just put it out there. I own it. I just own whatever it is, because now you can't make fun of it. You can't judge me. I don't care if you do. I just own it. It is what it is. But prior to, I was very angry. I was just like, there's just too much happening on the inside that I'm not ready for. Yeah.
And I think it's important for ladies to keep their sister circle. That sister circle it's everything. Like I know I've got my crew, my RBLs, baby. When I tell you between the four of them, they will pull me to the carpet. Hey, look, what we finna do. But they keep your sister circle can keep you grounded. Yeah. Because they can be your safe space. Yeah. If you're married or you're in a relationship, you still want your partner, your spouse, your husband, to be your safe space, but you should never let go of your sister circle because they fully understand it. They fully can help you. And as a matter of fact, some sister circles help you stay married. A lot of times, and the unfortunate thing is sometimes men think, oh, they're over there talking to their girls and they're telling them this, that, and the other, and they just gonna bring all this chaos to the house. In this age group, we trying to help you keep that husband.
Facts.
We trying to help you keep that husband. We don't want to see you,
girl, you need
alone.
Another glass?
Right, you need another glass. Look, come hang out with us, today, take a deep breather, and then go home and take care of what you need to take care of at home. Because there's nothing like being able to say, just exhale. Yeah. All right, my man has it. He got me. Yeah. So
how Mel, you said something super interesting. So I want this to be kind of the last question. Well, we'll see. We'll see how long these answers are. You mentioned something about
cutting me off.
You said you just here for the ride, so you just keep riding.
I said I was driving the car, though, motherfucker. You can't just.
Well, you just sit there and play with the radio. Anyway, Mel, you said something I kind of want to dig into. You said that you weren't ready. What advice would you give women to start getting ready who are 30, who are 35, who are 40, who are 45?
This is my question anyway, so go ahead. We all work together.
How do you get ready? Like, what do you do? It's like it's a race or a marathon, really. Yeah. Actually, cross country. But
that part. Definitely, like Tanya said, finding your tribe of people that get you and understand what you're going through, reading, talking to a trusted physician that can kind of ease you into the idea of what it could look like for you and when to say, okay, I think it's starting to happen, right? Knowing what some of those symptoms are and not, don't gaslight yourself, right? Like if you think something's off, it might be off. It just might be. And then conversations like this, go to where they're having those conversations, tap into podcasts like this. You have to be willing to listen and go within and do a little introspective work. You don't have to experience. That's why I'm doing this, because you don't have to experience it like I did. You don't have to sit in denial. You don't have to sit in thinking there's something wrong with you. You don't have to go through that. And that's why we want to normalize. This is going to happen anyway. It's going to happen. It doesn't have to be horrible. It doesn't have to be misery, because you have people around you that do understand.
Well, you did say it's all miserable to everybody, so at least be miserable.
There's a level
you won't be alone.
You won't be alone in it, right? Because you laying there at 3:00 in the morning. You like, I'm the only one up, right? And sometimes you like, I want to eat this whole bag of chips, and I don't want anybody to judge me. So you call your girl, you be like, I'm about to eat this whole bag of chips, and she's like, girl, eat the chips.
Right.
Eat the chips.
Like, let me go get my bag.
Right.
We up at 2 a.m.
Right.
We eat our chips
Girl, eat the chips.
You know,
Eat the cake, anime.
Right.
Tanya, what about you?
So you're gonna chuckle at me, and I am so serious in this space. I'm gonna need you to repeat that question because I forgot.
Own it. She owned it.
I own it. I told y'all in the beginning of the show that this is the funniest part of my life for me because literally I don't remember. All I remember is the very end of the conversation. I'm like, I could try to figure it out through context clues, but yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that.
We're not saying.
As soon as I said, how about you, Tanya? Something in my head was like, you should repeat the question. I must have felt your spirit. Getting ready. What advice would you give us? Well, I guess I'm here according to what I'm hearing. But for everybody who hasn't made it to where I am, how do we get ready for perimenopause?
So I think readiness is all about education, to kind of piggyback off of what Melanie said. But it's also owning that this is going to happen. I think once you accept that this is going to happen, then it's easier to prepare for it. Because as long as you're saying, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me until I'm 50. Oh, I'm not going to see that till I'm 60. Well, then when it comes at 40, you are knocked off your square. You're like, wait a minute, this isn't supposed to happen yet. So one of the things I talked about was to start, I believe it's very helpful if they start integrating menopause talk into school. So when they're talking about sex ed and everything, should be according to age levels, grade levels, but that conversation needs to start definitely in high school, because what we do know is how you treat your body early on directly impacts what it looks like later on.
Agreed.
And so how you treat yourself from a mental health space.
Just calling that too. Prioritize health sooner
yes,
than later.
Prioritize sooner than later. So you want to make sure that, okay, what kind of mental health space am I in? What does my body look like? What am I feeding into my body that can impact that at a later time? And so when you start kind of giving these nuggets along the way as you're growing, then when you get to this space, when you get to your late 20s, early 30s, you can start identifying, okay, I'm starting to act a little different here. Now you're in your late 30s and it's like, okay, am I seeing anything? And it's not that you're looking for anything, but because you're so self-aware, you can pick it up a lot sooner. Because again, I'm 50 by the time I remember, oh, so back at 38, when this happened, I wonder if that's what was going on. That one of the reasons that I'm really working in this space is because I know where I am. I know my mom wasn't able to give me that information. My daughter's 31. I don't want her being 50 trying to figure this out like I did. So how can I help her? Okay, how can we help this generation right behind us and the generations further behind, because they're all going to experience some part of it. And even if you never have any symptoms like this yourself, somebody you know does.
Yep.
Somebody you know will. So when ladies say, oh, I never went through menopause, you did. Right. You did, because even if you didn't exhibit any symptoms, ladies around you did. So you experienced it through them. And so how do you help them help themselves? Let's get the education going. So I think that's a good place to start and not be afraid of it. Once we can normalize it, then you're no longer afraid of it. If you're no longer afraid of it, then you can move better in that space.
Follow up on something you just asked, and then this will be the last question, and we'll wrap. Are mothers having these conversations enough with their daughters?
I am.
Right. So
is yours?
I think
my mother, no.
Right. I think this generation, I think we are. Okay. Our moms, those baby boomers, they did not. And I don't fault them for it, because one, there was even less research and less data then for them. And their mothers didn't talk to them about it.
Yeah.
Because it was oh baby, you just going through the change. Drink you some tea, you'll be okay.
Right.
It's gonna go ahead and go. And so because our generation is really good at, okay, I need to ask this question. I want to do this research. I want to look like Google is our best friend.
Yeah.
And so we're going to find a way to
go
get
to the doctor
information.
and say, here's what's
right.
happening.
And we're going to go to the doctor and say, so when I was, here's what I found when I looked it up.
Right.
And so I've got all these questions. Oh, okay. You don't, all right, I'm going to find me another doctor.
Yeah.
So I think because we are so vocal about it in this space now, that's why we talk to our daughters, and that gives them the ammunition to speak to theirs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Great.
Have the conversation.
Cool. Sean?
Would you guys, are there any, you didn't ask me about my mother, but that's fine. Even though my mother actually
I just said,
from time to time.
hold on.
Oh!
Sean?
Well, I'll let you guys know my mother does watch the show from time to time. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
I will say, my mother didn't have a ton of conversation about it. Maybe in the my mother is 20 years older than me. So obviously she's been going through it for a while. I think in maybe like the last 5 years, she actually started to tell me like what she has gone through with menopause. Because when she was going through it, she said absolutely nothing. I never saw her with a fan. I never saw her with extra clothes. I never saw her like peel off clothes and put on clothes. I never saw any of that. But she went through it and she talks about it now, which I wish she had said something when she was going through it so I could at least attempted to try to support her. I don't know what I would have done, but I would at least tried. But she's gotten a lot better about talking about herself and her health and what she's going through. And to both Tanya and Mel's point, she's a boomer. She barely talked about her childhood, so she definitely doesn't talk about most of like her ailments. I have to force myself to go to her doctor to find out what's going on with her health. Yeah. But she's getting better, in the last few years talking about it. So, I do appreciate that about her.
And that's fair. I do want to address something that Leslie just put up there, and it's really important. She shares with her son. And I think it's important for mothers to share the same information with their sons, because again, they're either going to date and or marry someone that's going to be in this space. And so here's some things that, you can do to kind of better prepare yourself to better understand. And it's perfectly okay to ask questions. So I think when the conversation occurs and it's occurring with both daughters and sons and they learn more, I think it also helps them when it comes to communicating better. Agreed. And just it becomes a full space.
Yep. Agreed.
And I think it helps them support you guys, right? Mm-hmm. Like I know our children are supposed to go and leave us, right? But they never really do. So I think educating them when they're small helps them when you get there, they're able to be some kind of support to you, whatever that would look like for them at that point. Yeah. So agreed. I like that idea as well.
Awareness is key.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Well,
I love it.
We are at time. Ladies, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen watching, I hope you've learned something and taken something away.
What's in the cup? You already know what's in the cup, Leslie. You already know what's in the cup.
I'll text you later, Leslie. I'll text you later, Leslie.
Look, it's not dark.
Final thoughts. Mel.
Have the conversations. Don't be afraid of the topic. It's part of life. Embrace it as much as you can, but definitely have a place where you can dump, even if it's a therapist.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. If I had to sum it up, it would be own it. Mm-hmm. Own it and live it.
There it is. Sean?
Okay, so I have more of an ask than like a final thought, right? But Mel, I know you're not in the zone, and I'm just gonna warn you now. It's a cesspool. Oh, so it's a cesspool of bullshit. Please throw articles in there for us. Help get these men and women talking about something other than the gender wars and 45.
We've been pretty good about that, actually. We've been pretty good about that lately.
You're right. But I
That
mean,
was
we
a bunch
also
of fake videos and Jamal and a vegan shit.
but we need that too. I think it's helpful for us. I mean, we can still have our cesspool of bullshit, but I think if we sprinkle in a little menopause education, I think it'll be helpful to everybody.
Absolutely. And what I will do is I will forward you the flyer for our June 22nd event.
Speak on it right now.
Okay, so ladies, this one is specifically for you. It is a in-person menopause talk, unfiltered. We'll talk about everything that we want to talk about. We've got 2 to 3 hours of that information. We will be at 1320 West Lake Street in Chicago, June 22nd, starting at 11 o'clock, ends at 3. Tickets are on sale now. I will forward you the link and the flyer and everything so everyone can get it. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. That'll be our second in-person event. We had a lot of fun with the very first one. Lots and lots of laughs. So we're looking forward to the second one.
I'm coming, so send the link. I'm buying a ticket. That means Stephanie, Nikki, Jen, whoever else is watching, I expect to see your asses there.
And
come with me.
Buy one, get one half off right now. So, because we really want you to grab a friend and bring them. So we decided buy one, get one half off. So yeah, come on and hang out with us.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Linda, we might do a part 2. You're right. We might have to follow up and dig a little bit deeper. I'd be more than willing to do that. Again, thank you all. I'm sure there is. Yeah. Thank you all for being as open and honest and this educational.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Next week, we will have expats. So we're going to have some folks that have moved out of the country, why they did it, what their experience is like.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people right now are doing that big talk about they moving out the country. Let's talk to some folks that have actually done it and see what their experiences are like. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Appreciate you as always for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Awesome.
Bye. Can I do my thing now?
Do your thing. Yeah.
In his own podcast. 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 In his own